Okay guys, you guys just remember everything on the test, you guys know it. I think the hardest question, there's probably something from 10th grade. It's simple math, and yes, it is time consuming, but you guys have been through rigorous tests that are more like, they take up more time. I know you guys can do it. It's just remember, it's for your future, and it's so easy to get to the test and slack off, but you guys are marvels. I know you guys are strong, and I think just always have in the back of your mind that yes, it's a competition is hard out there. So whenever you want to give up, just have in mind that hey, my dream college, I want the best score ever. And I think the best way to just attain the best score ever is to go home and practice, listen in junior seminar, because the practice is needed. And there are different online resources that you could go to. Printable ACT practices are available. Ooh, things I would do differently a lot. I wouldn't give up towards the end of the ACT, because at the science section you go so many graphs, but just remember the science section, all you really need to do is just read the graphs and go straight to the questions. But and also, if you know that math is your strong point, don't kid around in the math sections. Literally, don't spend more than 1 minute on a question. Like, go with your gut answer, and that's it. The reading section of it, I just think read books. It's good to read books, because then you build up grammar. And also, don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep. That's big. I've heard testimonies from fellow seniors who fell asleep. They didn't do as good as they possibly could. And I think, well, and whenever you do take your first ACT, and when you get that score, don't feel down. It's your first one. There are always countless opportunities to take it again. But what you need to make sure to not do is don't take them consecutively. Wait a few months and then take it, because you need that prep time. You need to understand what are my strong areas and what are my weak areas. Just take the precautionary steps, and you guys can do it. I have faith in you. Good luck.
One advice I have about taking the ACT would be just to practice. As long as you practice, you get used to it, you get used to the speed, you get used to the type of questions they have. So practicing makes it better. If one thing I could do differently, I would definitely practice more. And practice every section. I know they say don't, but if you practice every section, it'll actually help you. So yeah, just use your book that they gave you, the College Board book. Just use that to practice all the practice tests that they have for you. If you're done with that, go online and find more practice tests. As long as you practice each section, and when you're practicing, time yourself, you just get used to the flow, and then so that when the real test comes, you already know what you're getting yourself into. Don't overdo breaks. Like, they give you breaks, and don't come in late, because sometimes people come in late and they can't finish their test, or they lose out on time. And another, don't get distracted. It's easy to get distracted, it's easy to get bored, but just stay in the zone and stay focused so that you can finish your test. Oh, bring a snack, because you will get hungry, and bring some water, because you're gonna get hungry. You're gonna be there all day. And don't forget your ID. I know they say you can bring like one on your phone, but like I've seen people have to go home because their ID was on their phone and they got sent home. So bring like an actual card or your school ID. I mean, everyone's kind of nervous the first time around, because I took it 2 times. I'm about to take it a 3rd time, so it's just something you get used to.
So I took the ACT 3 times. I'm gonna take it a 3rd time on October. And the benefits of doing those, like the options that I took, was because every time you take or retake the ACT, your score goes up. And what I would have done differently last year, I would have definitely been more consistent on my practice. I would have, like, opportunities that teachers give me to practice in class, I would have taken those opportunities, because sometimes I didn't take those. And always make sure you always practice on your strength, because overall your strength will increase your score. The most challenging part for me was making sure I practice not just like every other day, or like like once a week. Make sure you practice constantly, because the more you practice, the better you have chances of increasing your score. Some tips for the test day or before the test day. Make sure you don't. I would recommend not to practice before the test, the day before, because you will get stressed out, and it becomes very overwhelming to think about things like that before the test. Make sure you're not afraid to retake the test, because the first time might not always be the score you want. So if you take it again, you always have the opportunity to raise your score.
Alright, so for some advice for the ACT I can give you guys is try to take the test as many times as you can. And in that, I mean, take the practice test as many times as you can, because you're going to be given books. And one mistake I made during practicing for my ACT is not practicing the test, because if you can take the test and continue to like get comfortable with the test every time you take the practice test, then you'll be so accustomed to the test that it'll become like nature to you. So if you're willing, it requires a lot of dedication, because during junior year I didn't really focus too much on taking the practice test so many times with my books. So that's one of the advice I give you. And also make sure you're on test day, make sure you're always prepared. I remember one time I left my ticket at home, and I left all my stuff at home, and I was just like really like, you know, frantic. So make sure you're always prepared before test day, and I guess that's all the advice I can give you. Good luck on your ACT.
Okay, one advice that I would give to the 2017 class about the ACT would be to prioritize your time and to open that expensive book, which was like $150. That book really helps. It gives you advice. You should study your vocabulary. And the SAT, I mean, it's not as hard as the SAT, but the time length is longer. So sometimes you're going to feel like it's a lot of work, but the only thing that you have to do is keep that consistent mind that you could do it. Be persistent. And I mean, you don't get points deducted for guessing, so don't guess on throughout the whole SAT, but on the questions that you don't know, just guess. That's what I did, basically. Something I would do differently would be study harder and ask questions in junior seminar, because sometimes I felt like I had this, but I didn't, because I didn't understand. The vocabulary was worded harder, and it's just a more rigorous test. So I would ask more questions to my counselor, to my teacher. Just have an optimistic mind. Just know that it's going to count towards your college application, and you can retake it. So just have that optimistic mind.
My advice for the ACT is to have constant exposure to the material on the ACT. The ACT tests materials up to pre-calculus, so what you do in class will affect mostly your score on the ACT. Constant exposure allows you to make sure you know what you're doing once you enter the room on the test day. Make sure you time yourself when you're doing your sections. You don't have to time yourself at first, but make sure by the test day you have a general idea at the pace you're going and your goal score. One thing I regret while when preparing for the ACT was I didn't start early enough. The first time I took the ACT, I didn't study at all. I thought the test was easy. The test sections inside the books are probably easier than the actual questions on the test, and the test changes every year to accommodate for the increased skill level. Make sure that whenever you take the ACT, you are getting rest the week before. When I took my second ACT, I slept 9 o'clock every day for that week. I ate well, ate breakfast every morning. It might sound like an exaggeration. Oh, eat well, you'll do better in the test, but it actually does help your mentality, because when I entered that room on the test day, it's around 8 a.m. You're probably going to be tired if you've been sleeping late throughout the whole week. It's a Saturday too, that should be your break time, but if you are constantly sleeping early and waking up early, you're going to be used to the environment that you enter on test day. The thing about the ACT is you have to have persistence throughout the test. My first mistake when I took the first ACT was by the time I entered the science section, which was the very last section, I had no mental stamina, I was tired, I was sleepy, and it's probably because what I've done the night before was I stayed up studying the whole night. It's not really worth it because it will affect your cognitive skills during the test. So make sure you're sleeping early, that you have full attention to the test throughout the whole test and not just the very beginning. Because I've noticed a trend with my scores that I've done really well on the English and the math, but towards the end my scores start to drop. So make sure you're consistent and make sure you're practicing every single section equally.